In the center of Riverstone City stood the Lin family mansion, a place of marble floors, golden chandeliers, and silent judgment. Every servant who walked its halls knew one truth: wealth lived here, but kindness did not. And inside this mansion lived a man nobody respected. His name was Ethan Cole. To the outside world, Ethan was nothing more than a useless live-in husband. No job, no status, no family background. He married into the powerful Lin family 3 years ago after saving Sophia Lindsay, the eldest daughter, during a car accident. Out of gratitude, her grandfather forced the marriage. But gratitude fades quickly when pride remains. Every morning, Ethan woke before sunrise. He cleaned the house, prepared breakfast, watered the garden, and washed the luxury cars that he would never be allowed to drive. While others slept in silk beds, he worked quietly with no complaint. Because Ethan carried a secret, one that could destroy the entire city. But for now, he stayed silent. That morning, the mansion buzzed with activity. Today was important. The Lin family was hosting a business banquet for investors and elite families. Sophia had an important presentation, and the entire family wanted to impress their guests. Ethan was in the kitchen, wearing simple clothes, placing breakfast on silver plates. Sophia entered, dressed in an elegant white business suit. Her beauty turned heads wherever she went, but her eyes were tired. The pressure on her shoulders was heavy. She looked at Ethan. "You don't need to come tonight," she said calmly. "It's better if you stay home." Ethan nodded gently. "All right." No argument, no anger. But Sophia hesitated. She had always felt strange about Ethan. He never defended himself, never begged for respect, never explained his past. Sometimes, when she looked into his eyes, she felt as if she was staring at something ancient, something dangerous. Her cousin, Victor Lin, entered loudly, clapping his hands sarcastically. "Oh, wow, look at this. Our great house husband is serving breakfast again. Truly impressive." Laughter followed him. Victor leaned against the table. "Sophia, how can you let this useless man embarrass our family? Every elite family laughs at us because of him." Sophia clenched her jaw. "Enough, Victor." Victor smirked. "I'm just telling the truth. He eats our food, lives in our house, and contributes nothing." Ethan kept his head down, but inside his chest, something stirred. Not anger, not pride, memory. A battlefield soaked in blood. A throne of shattered stone. A title whispered across worlds. Supreme Immortal Lord. But Ethan crushed the memory instantly. Not yet. After breakfast, Sophia left for the company. Victor followed, still laughing. The mansion slowly became quiet again. Ethan stepped outside to clean the front yard. Suddenly, a black luxury car stopped at the gate. 3 men in suits stepped out. They were from the Black Dragon Corporation, the most powerful underground business empire in the region. Everyone feared them. The leader, a tall man with cold eyes, walked toward Ethan. "Are you Ethan Cole?" he asked. "Yes." The man handed him a sealed envelope. "Our boss invites you to dinner tonight." Ethan opened the letter slowly. Inside was a red wax seal. His expression changed, just for 1 second, because only one organization in this world still used that ancient seal. The Ras Shadow Council. An organization that once bowed before him. Ethan closed the envelope. "I will not attend," he replied calmly. The man's face darkened. "You don't understand who you're refusing." Ethan looked up. His eyes were calm, but the air changed. The temperature dropped slightly. "You don't understand who you are speaking to," Ethan said quietly. The men suddenly felt pressure on their chests. Sweat appeared on their foreheads. Their instincts screamed danger. The leader swallowed hard. "We will report your response." They left immediately, speeding away. Ethan stood alone in the yard. He exhaled slowly. They found me already, he whispered. Far away, inside a dark skyscraper office, a man wearing a black dragon ring stared at the report. So, the Supreme Immortal has awakened again? He smiled. Interesting. That evening, the Lin family banquet began. Crystal glasses, classical music, powerful businessmen shaking hands. Sophia stood on stage, presenting a major project proposal. Applause filled the hall, but suddenly the doors opened. Everyone turned. Ethan walked in, wearing simple black clothes. No luxury, no brand. Silence spread. Victor's eyes widened. What is he doing here? Sophia froze. Ethan slowly walked toward the back of the hall. Whispers began. That's the useless husband. He dares show his face here? So embarrassing. Victor stood up loudly. Security! Remove this man immediately. He has no invitation. Security guards rushed toward Ethan. Before they touched him, Ethan raised his hand slightly. They stopped, not because he touched them, but because their bodies refused to move. An invisible force pressed them down, only for 2 seconds. Then Ethan released it. The guards stumbled back in shock. Nobody understood what happened. Victor laughed nervously. Stop acting dramatic. This is a public place. Ethan finally spoke. I came to deliver something. He walked toward Sophia and handed her a small USB drive. What's this? She asked quietly. Your company's stolen project files. Black Dragon Corporation planned to sabotage you tonight. Sophia's face changed instantly. She rushed backstage and opened the files. Her hands trembled. Everything was real. Contracts, bribes, secret agreements, proof. Her company was saved. She ran back to Ethan. How did you get this? Ethan smiled softly. Luck. But Victor exploded. This is impossible. You can't even afford taxi money. How could you obtain this? Suddenly, a man entered the hall with dozens of bodyguards. Everyone recognized him instantly. Mr. Kane Blackwood, CEO of Black Dragon Corporation. Powerful, dangerous, untouchable. He walked directly toward Ethan. The room fell silent. Sophia's heart started racing. Victor whispered, "He's dead. He offended the wrong person." Kane stopped in front of Ethan. Everyone waited for violence. Instead, Kane bowed, not slightly, fully, deeply. Gasps filled the room. "My lord," Kane said respectfully, "forgive our disturbance." Shock froze the entire hall. Sophia's eyes widened. Victor nearly collapsed. Ethan looked at Kane coldly. "You broke the agreement." Kane lowered his head. "It will not happen again." Ethan nodded once. "Leave." Kane immediately turned around and exited with his entire entourage without another word. The banquet hall exploded into chaos. People whispered. Phones recorded secretly. Sophia stared at Ethan like she was seeing him for the first time. "Who are you?" she whispered. Ethan looked at her gently. "I'm still your husband," he replied. But deep inside, he knew. The peaceful days were over. His enemies had found him. And the world would soon remember his real name. The banquet hall was still buzzing with whispers when Ethan quietly walked out. Sophia followed him outside, her heels clicking fast against the marble floor. Her heart was beating too loudly inside her chest. "Wait," she called. Ethan stopped near the fountain, the city lights reflecting softly in his calm eyes. Sophia stood in front of him, confused, shaken, and overwhelmed. What just happened in there? That man bowed to you. That was Kane Blackwood. Do you know what that means? He never bows to anyone. Ethan remained silent for a moment. "There are things about my past you wouldn't understand," he said gently. Sophia clenched her fists. "I deserve to know. We are married." That word, married, echoed strangely in Ethan's mind. Before he could respond, Victor stormed out of the hall with red eyes full of jealousy and anger. "You planned this," Victor shouted. "You hired actors. You embarrassed me in front of everyone." Ethan turned slowly. "I don't need actors," he said calmly. Victor stepped closer. "You think you're powerful now? You're still trash living in our house." Suddenly, Victor raised his hand to slap Ethan, but before his palm could touch Ethan's face, Victor froze. His arm stopped in midair. Sweat poured down his forehead. His knees trembled. It felt like an invisible mountain was pressing on his body. Ethan leaned closer and whispered softly, "Don't cross lines you don't understand." Victor collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath. Sophia stared in shock. Ethan released the pressure instantly and turned away. "I'm going home." That night, the Lynn mansion was silent. Sophia couldn't sleep. She sat on her bed, replaying everything in her mind. Ethan's calm voice, Kane's bow, Victor's fear. Downstairs, Ethan stood alone on the balcony. The wind moved gently around him. His eyes darkened. Memories returned again. A destroyed empire. Betrayal. Blood. A fall from supreme power. 3 years ago, Ethan wasn't weak. He had sealed his cultivation and entered the mortal world to escape endless war between immortal clans. He wanted peace. A normal life. But peace never lasts. Suddenly, his phone vibrated. A hidden encrypted number appeared. He answered. "Lord Ethan," a female voice spoke respectfully. "The Shadow Council has mobilized. They know you're active again." Ethan closed his eyes slowly. "How many?" 5 elite assassins are already inside Riverstone City." A small smile appeared on Ethan's lips. "So they want war again." He opened his eyes. This time they were no longer gentle. "Let them come," he said calmly. "It's time to remind the world who I am." From the shadows across the city, dark figures began moving, hunting him. Unaware, they were walking straight into hell. Rain started falling softly over Riverstone City. The streets were nearly empty. Streetlights reflected on the wet asphalt, creating long golden shadows. Sophia was driving home from work alone. Her mind was restless. Ever since the banquet, she couldn't stop thinking about Ethan, about the strange power in his eyes, about the fear Victor showed. Suddenly, her phone lost signal. The radio turned to static. Her heart skipped a beat. At the next intersection, a black van slowly blocked her path. Sophia stepped on the brakes. Before she could react, 3 men jumped out. Their movements were sharp, trained, and precise. One of them smiled coldly. "Miss Lynn, please come with us." Sophia tried to reverse. Too late. A metal rod smashed her window. She screamed. Across the city, Ethan was standing on the rooftop of the Lynn mansion, feeling something shift in the air. His eyes opened instantly. "Assassins," he whispered. Then his expression changed. "Sophia." He vanished. Not walked, not ran. Vanished. The kidnappers dragged Sophia out of the car and pushed her into the van. Her hands trembled. Tears filled her eyes. "Why are you doing this?" One man answered calmly, "Your husband is the reason." The van didn't make it far. Suddenly, the road ahead exploded with dust. The vehicle stopped violently. The men jumped out with weapons ready. Then they saw him. Ethan stood in the middle of the road, rain falling around him, coat unmoving, eyes cold. One assassin whispered in fear, "It's him, the sealed lord." Ethan raised his hand slowly. The air vibrated. The strongest assassin rushed forward with a blade. He never touched Ethan. His body froze mid-air, bones cracking, blood spraying silently onto the wet road. Ethan moved. In 1 second, 2 assassins collapsed, unconscious before they even realized what happened. The last one tried to run. Ethan appeared behind him, a gentle tap on the neck. He dropped. Silence returned. Rain washed the blood away. Sophia stood frozen, watching everything. Her legs gave up. Ethan caught her before she fell. She looked into his eyes, shaking. "What? Are you?" Ethan looked away. "I'm someone who tried to live quietly," he said softly. "But the world doesn't allow it." That night, Sophia finally understood one thing. Her husband wasn't ordinary. He wasn't weak. He wasn't poor. He was dangerous and powerful. Far away, inside a dark underground room, a man watched the security footage. He smiled slowly. "So, the Immortal King has awakened." He leaned back. "Prepare, Phase 2. The war had officially begun. The car ride back to the mansion was silent. Sophia stared out the window, her hands trembling slightly. Every time she blinked, she saw the image again. Ethan standing in the rain, unmoved, unstoppable. When they arrived, she didn't go inside immediately. She stopped at the gate. "Ethan." Her voice was low but firm. "You owe me the truth." Ethan froze. For a moment, he looked like the same quiet man who used to wash dishes and take buses to work. Then he sighed. They entered the private garden behind the mansion. Lantern lights swayed softly in the wind. Sophia crossed her arms. "No more lies. No more excuses. What are you?" Ethan looked at the sky. 300 years ago, he began, "I was known as the Immortal King." Sophia's breath caught. "I ruled the strongest cultivation realm. I ended wars. I crushed tyrants. But power always creates enemies. When I was betrayed by my own generals, I sealed my cultivation and escaped to the mortal world." He looked at her. "I wanted peace, a normal life. I chose you not because of fate, but because you treated me like a human." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "So, all this time," she whispered, "you pretended to be weak?" "I wasn't pretending to love you," Ethan said quietly. Silence fell between them. Sophia stepped back. "You could have told me." "If I told you," Ethan replied, "you would never be safe." Suddenly, the ground shook. A powerful pressure flooded the garden. Trees bent, windows rattled. 3 figures descended from the sky like shadows. They wore black robes with silver dragon symbols. One of them laughed. "So the Immortal King hides among mortals now?" Sophia froze in fear. Ethan stepped in front of her instantly. "Shadow Sect," he said coldly. "You found me faster than I expected." The leader raised his hand. "We don't want war. Hand over the ancient core inside your body and the woman lives." Sophia turned pale. "Ancient core?" she whispered. Ethan clenched his fists. "That core is what keeps this world stable," he said. "If I give it to you, millions will die." The Shadow Sect leader smiled. "Then choose, Sophia, or the world." Sophia grabbed Ethan's sleeve. "Don't do it. I don't want to be the reason people suffer." Ethan looked at her. His eyes softened. Then they turned cold, like ancient ice. "I already lost one world," he said quietly. "I won't lose another." He stepped forward. The air exploded with pressure. Golden light burst from his body. His seal cracked. Power returned. The Shadow Sect cultivators' faces changed instantly. Fear replaced arrogance. You're restoring your cultivation?" Ethan raised his hand. "This is your last warning." They attacked, and the garden turned into a battlefield. The garden shook as the Shadow Sect cultivators attacked. Blades made of spiritual energy sliced through the air. The wind screamed. Trees shattered. The ground cracked beneath their feet. Sophia covered her mouth in horror. She had never seen anything like this. Ethan stood in front of her, calm and unmoving, golden light flowing around his body like a living flame. The first attacker rushed forward, swinging his energy sword with full force. Ethan lifted one finger, just one. The blade stopped mid-air. The cultivator's eyes widened in terror. "Impossible." Ethan flicked his finger forward. The man was sent flying across the garden, crashing through the stone wall like paper. The second attacker formed hand seals rapidly, summoning a massive shadow beast. It roared and charged toward Ethan. Sophia screamed, "Ethan!" Ethan stepped forward. He raised his palm. "Break!" The shadow beast froze, then shattered into smoke. The third cultivator tried to escape. Too late. Ethan appeared behind him in a blink. His hand touched the man's back gently. No explosion, no sound. The cultivator collapsed to the ground unconscious, his cultivation completely sealed. Silence returned. The golden light slowly faded from Ethan's body. Sophia stood frozen, staring at him. Her legs felt weak. You're not human," she whispered. Ethan turned toward her slowly. "I was once," he said softly. "And that's the part I'm trying to protect." Sirens echoed in the distance. Security forces were approaching. Ethan waved his hand, erasing the remaining spiritual traces and damage. The destroyed garden restored itself partially, leaves regrowing, cracks closing. Sophia watched in shock. "Why are they hunting you?" she asked. Ethan looked toward the city skyline. "Because the ancient core inside me is the key to controlling realms. Whoever possesses it becomes untouchable." Sophia felt fear crawl up her spine. "So, this will never end." Ethan nodded slowly. "Not until I confront the ones who betrayed me." That night, news spread across the underground world. The Immortal King had returned. Old enemies awakened. Hidden forces began moving. Meanwhile, in a luxurious skyscraper office, a woman in a red dress watched a holographic projection of the battle. Her lips curved into a dangerous smile. "So, you're alive after all, Ethan." She lifted a crystal communication device. "Mobilize the Crimson Alliance. Prepare the city." Her eyes glowed faintly. "If he wants war, I'll give him one." Back at the mansion, Sophia stood alone on her balcony, staring at the moon. Her life had changed forever. She was no longer married to a weak house husband. She was standing beside a legend, a king, and the storm was only beginning. Riverstone City didn't know it yet, but it had become a battlefield. The morning sun rose over skyscrapers and busy streets, yet something felt wrong. The air was heavy. Invisible pressure weighed on the city like a coming storm. Inside the Lynn mansion, Ethan stood in the training hall, his expression serious. The Shadow Sect attack had confirmed one thing: his enemies would not stop. Sophia entered quietly. She hesitated before speaking. "They came because of me too, didn't they?" Ethan turned. "They used you as leverage," he said honestly. "And they will try again." Sophia swallowed. "Then I don't want to stay weak." Ethan looked at her carefully. Training a mortal was dangerous. The cultivation world destroyed countless lives, but leaving her unprotected was worse. He nodded slowly. "I will teach you how to protect yourself." Sophia's eyes widened. "Really?" "Yes, not to fight wars, but to survive them." Before they could begin, alarms sounded across the mansion. Security monitors lit up. Dozens of black vehicles were surrounding the property. Armed men stepped out. They wore the symbol of the Crimson Alliance. Ethan's expression darkened. So they arrived already. Outside, Crimson Alliance soldiers moved in formation, surrounding the gates. Their leader stepped forward, holding a megaphone. "Immortal King, hand over the ancient core. This city does not belong to you anymore." Sophia felt fear rise in her chest. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Stay inside, no matter what happens." Then he walked out alone. The gates opened. Hundreds of soldiers aimed their weapons. Ethan stood calmly in front of them. "You are standing on borrowed land," he said quietly. "Leave now." The leader laughed. "Kill him!" Gunfire erupted. Bullets filled the air. They never touched Ethan. An invisible barrier surrounded his body. Bullets froze mid-air, then dropped harmlessly to the ground. Panic spread. Ethan raised his hand. The ground trembled. A shockwave exploded outward, sending dozens of soldiers flying backward. Cars flipped, windows shattered, the city shook. Helicopters appeared in the sky. Crimson Alliance elites descended using ropes. This time, they weren't ordinary humans. They were cultivators. The first elite attacked Ethan with blazing red energy. Ethan countered with one strike. The man was knocked unconscious instantly. 3 more attacked together. Ethan moved like lightning. Within seconds, they were defeated. From the rooftop of a nearby building, the woman in the red dress watched everything. Her eyes narrowed. So he still holds back. She activated her communicator. Phase 2 begins now. Suddenly, alarms rang throughout the city. Power stations failed. Traffic lights shut down. Chaos spread. This wasn't just a battle anymore. It was a takeover. Ethan looked around at the city. His jaw tightened. They want to drag innocent people into this. He clenched his fist. Then, I will end this. Quickly. From that moment on, the Immortal King stopped hiding, and Riverstone City would never be the same again. Smoke still rose from the streets when Ethan returned to the mansion. Riverstone City was quiet again, but the silence felt unnatural. Broken windows reflected burning lights. Sirens echoed far away. Inside the Lynn estate, Sophia waited anxiously. "You're hurt," she said when she saw the blood on his sleeve. "It's not mine," Ethan replied calmly. Before she could relax, a powerful pressure suddenly filled the air. The temperature dropped. Candles flickered violently. Ethan's eyes sharpened. "She's here." The doors opened slowly. A woman in a crimson-red dress walked inside, her heels echoing across the marble floor. Her beauty was cold and sharp, her presence overwhelming. Every guard froze. Sophia felt her knees weaken. The woman smiled. "So this is the mortal woman you chose?" she said softly. "Interesting." Ethan stepped forward. "Leave, Scarlet," he said coldly. "This world is not yours anymore." Scarlet Crimson, former immortal queen of the Crimson Alliance. Once Ethan's equal, once his ally, now his enemy. She laughed lightly. "You sealed your power and hid among ants, and now you protect one of them?" Sophia clenched her fists. "I'm not an ant," she said quietly. Scarlet turned her gaze toward her. Her smile faded. "You carry his weakness." In one sudden movement, Scarlet raised her hand. Sophia was lifted into the air by invisible force. "Sophia!" Ethan shouted. Golden energy erupted from Ethan's body. He appeared instantly beside Scarlet, breaking her grip. The ground cracked under their feet. Their energies collided violently. The mansion shook. Scarlet smiled wider. Still strong, but not complete. She stepped back gracefully. "I didn't come to fight today. I came to warn you." She looked directly at Ethan. "The Lynn family is already compromised." Ethan's expression changed. "What do you mean?" Scarlet smirked. "One of them already sold you out." Sophia froze. "No." Scarlet turned and walked toward the exit. "Find the traitor, Immortal King, before I do." She disappeared into red smoke. Silence filled the hall. Ethan turned slowly toward Sophia. "Call a family meeting." An hour later, the Lynn family gathered. Victor stood near the back, avoiding eye contact. Ethan walked slowly around the room. "Someone here leaked my location to the Crimson Alliance." Everyone panicked. Victor suddenly stepped forward. "This is nonsense. He's trying to scare us." Ethan stopped in front of him. Victor's hands shook. Ethan raised his hand. A small illusion formed in the air. It showed Victor secretly meeting a Crimson Alliance agent. The room exploded in shock. Sophia stared at Victor. "You betrayed us?" Victor fell to his knees. "I just wanted power. I didn't think it would go this far." Ethan looked at him coldly. "Greed always goes too far." Victor was taken away by security. That night, Sophia stood beside Ethan on the balcony. "The war is getting closer," she whispered. Ethan nodded. "But now, we face it together."